Tony, today Junior Banks is a little under the weather this week. So while he wrote this script, your Kirsch League leader Johnny effing Moxon will narrate this week's video. But we have no time for intros. We must find out who amongst us made the biggest mess in week 6 in
He's Made a Mess of It.
Except yet again, this week, no one really made a big mess. Every single effing person in both leagues who started their worst team also started their best team. How am I supposed to feature someone on He's Made a Mess of It when they started their best team? Instead, I have to fall back to who missed out on big points. And the top winner in that segment is Johnny Football, who neglected to start the LA Rams during their huge 52-point week. His blunder was so massive,
That's what she said.
it also cost the Turbush League in Hot Topics, where over in Exhibit A on the left, you can clearly see there's one checkmark box missing. You can all thank Johnny Football for yet another Kirsch League victory. Things weren't much easier finding someone who really moneyballed it this week. The inverse of He's Made a Mess of It was also true. Anyone who picked a really good team also picked a really bad team. I went with Chad Hutchinson, who found Jacksonville's best start of the season so far and got a healthy week out of his third-round pick, the Brownies. Their current leader in the Turbush League has yet to really disappoint with his picks. Well, they always think they've rehabbed, but they always fall back off the wagon and end up in the relegation zone, don't they? Mr. Relegation Watch 2019 finds himself in 7th place after scoring 5 beauty points this week. It's not low enough for another goose, but it's close! Alright, the appetizer's over. It's time for the main course and the week 6 standings. Johnny color commenting Brown graduating effing Moxon had the 3rd highest score of the week and maintains the top spot for the 3rd week in a row. However, coming up fast in his rearview mirror is Tyler, I'm not in Kansas City more, Polko, who is very far from his 6th place home after 2 straight 100-point weeks. The Jets have been his ruby slippers, but the Titans are looking nice now too. Helped by a bye, Wade Deadpool Wilson was one of the few people who started their top 2 teams this week. Jameis Crablegs Winston threw 5 interceptions, and Wade's score could have been even higher if it wasn't for a late 4th quarter TD and just earning 400 yards passing. But that's okay. He can do a superhero landing another time. Rounding out the top 4 is Jay Dark Horse Cutler, who despite his meager 42 points this week is simply biding his time for future ideal Miami starts. He's only 58 points behind first place, which is like Miami's typical BQBL score in the first half. A whole 100 points back is Tony, my voice hurts Banks, who like Chad Hutchinson, took advantage of Minshew Mania regressing into a typical backup quarterback. Let's not overlook TSS wins Smart Giants start this week. Good grief, did we use all our S's in there? Anyway, like Tony Banks, Wynn found out the exact time when Daniel Jones was going to cool off and start producing BQBL points again. It's just too bad Wynn had no one else good to start. But is it really that bad?
I don't think so.
We already talked about Cade McNow's walk of shame back home to where he belongs. And for the 4th straight week, we get to say the words, and finally, in front of Chris Winky's name. For 3 weeks now, he's only been single digits from getting out of 8th, but he keeps drifting behind 7th, waiting to pass.
Now it's time for Caleb's favorite, the Turbush League. Quick aside, this guy actually works in my office, and I've often been tempted to tell him that he's the butt of a joke for my friends and I. But then I always come back to that being a real dick move, and I don't really want to explain this whole thing to HR. You know what's impressed me this year? There's only been 4 negative scores so far. I don't keep stats for the Turbush League, but I think that's pretty darn good. You know, for you guys. Caleb would be proud. A third of the season is over, and Chad is on pace to score 1,300 points or something. He scored 63 points this week, and that actually lowered his average weekly score. Ryan, big like a tree and leaf, has yet to bench the Jets and is now being chased by Jeff and Steve. No, not that Steve. He's in 6th. Only in the Turbush League does someone double their score in 1 week this late in the season. Nicely done, Grogan. Johnny Football is still wondering why he was chosen for He's Made a Mess of It when he has the 2nd highest score of the week. But this is Caleb's league. It wouldn't be named after Mr. Turbush if he had made the right decisions. Let's call it a mulligan. You're all messes.